Welcome to the latest edition of our podcast. I am Bill Rambo, Senior Coach and Director at What's Next, a BPAS service, and I am excited today to welcome a dear friend and colleague, Mr. John Gautreaux, CHFC. And we're going to get into John's background and the focus of his financial services practice, and really, we're really excited for this because there's an air of celebration that surrounds us for this conversation. There's a couple of neat things happening in John's life, anniversary-wise, mile marker-wise, as we're supposed to say, Brandon. And that reminds me, let me say hi and thank you to our producer and director, as I always call him, John Oz, the man behind the curtain, Brandon Kirst. Brandon, thank you for all the work you do to produce these podcasts. We really appreciate it. So, John, as I said, there's a celebratory tone underlying this podcast because you are on the verge, I don't know the exact date, but 24 years in practice.
Yeah.
It's exciting. There's another anniversary coming up in about a month. What is that one? I forget. What is that? Help me.
Yeah. Even more importantly, we're on the eve of my first anniversary to my new wife, Trish.
The beautiful Trish. Yes.
That trumps any other celebration for sure. And you played a very special role in that ceremony, Bill, if I recall.
As I recall, we had a lot of fun. We hosted family and friends the night before here. And had a wonderful time. Brandon, John has a big family and a wonderful family. They're very nice to adopt me, so to speak. His one brother explained that I'm now part of the family. But we had a great party, and the next day we had a wedding. I actually officiated right down the road at the beach, which was wonderful, and it was a great day. So, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? And I'll guide you here and there, but is whatever you want to start with, the beginnings of your practice. And as a matter of fact, one thing that's a little different about you versus some advisors we talk to is you didn't start immediately in the financial services business. I believe you started in banking. Is that
That's
correct?
Right. Yep.
So just give us a little of your background, and I would be interested, I'll come back and remind you, but I would be interested in how the banking experience helped to inform your financial services practice when you started and perhaps still does. So take it away, John Gautreaux, CHFC. Dear friend, tell us all about it.
Thanks, Bill. Well, it's true. I am approaching my 24th year anniversary in my own practice. Next year is going to be very special, when we reach the mile marker 25, and we're going to do something special. But to have the opportunity to host or co-host this podcast with you on the eve of my 24th year is very special. You and I have been working together very closely, professionally, and certainly as good friends, probably for the last 12 years. So I owe a lot of thanks to you for a lot of your insight and coaching, and certainly your friendship. My first career was not my first love, but it was my first career, and it was in banking. It was my very first stop right out of college, 1988. I started working for a local community bank called Old Stone Bank, and
let me guess, John. Let me guess. That bank, that name doesn't exist anymore. Is that am I right?
Yeah, much like a lot of banks that were in business at the time. Old Stone, unfortunately, did meet its fate about 5 years into my career. I was in the commercial lending industry for all of the 13 years that I was in banking. Worked very closely with business owners to help them meet their goals. I had a short stay at Shawmut Bank, which also met its fate, having been acquired by another regional bank. I had a nice stay with Fleet National Bank, which, again, is no longer around, having been acquired by Bank America, which is one of the reasons why I landed where I am. The ever uncertainty of what was happening in banking back then, consolidations, mergers, buyouts, banks folding, the credit union crisis, it really left me feeling very anxious about my career. I was a young man with two young children, a stay-at-home spouse, and the thought of coming home with a pink slip one day just sort of weighed heavily on my shoulders, and
I can imagine.
kind of just sort of gnawed at me that for all of the hard work and time spent servicing my good clients, I didn't have a whole lot of control over the outcome of my career, and that sort of spawned where I am today. Oddly,
And John, how did the transition actually come about? Did you meet somebody? Did you know somebody? How'd that happen?
yeah, one of my good college friends, Rick Bollier, had already established a long career with a company by the name of John Hancock,
Mm.
and he was sales manager and recruiter at the time, and he just kept poking me on the shoulder for a couple of years, saying, "You really should give financial services a try. You'd be great at it." And my response always was, I don't know how to sell anything. I don't want to sell anything. I'm not good at sales. I really just want to take care of my clients. And after a while, he helped me realize that it was really more about just that, taking care of your clients, and the rest will follow. So, with a little more prodding, I took the opportunity, and in 2001, August, I literally took a flying leap of faith into this new industry, and I can't say I never looked back. There was certainly some challenges very quickly after that, but I haven't looked back more recently.
Well, I think as you look back now, you look through, I don't want to say rose-colored glasses, but you look through the prism of a great deal of success, and more importantly, a great deal of service to your clients. And that's something we're going to talk about specifically with you, because your approach to service and care is much higher touch than a lot of advisors out there in the industry. I do want to give Rick Bollier his props. He obviously has a good eye for talent. So, congratulations to Rick. And I know you guys still work together. And that's another thing. You're one of those, I wouldn't say it's the rarest of rare, but the trend is changing. You've been with the same firm now for those almost 24 years. Why
Yeah,
is that?
I I've sat behind the same desk for all of those 24 years. Um, we've changed our name, and certainly how we do business over those decades. We've evolved into a fully independent practice. It's something we're extremely proud of. We've worked very hard on creating that independence, which goes back. Our roots actually go back 100 years as an agency through John Hancock. That well preceded my joining the firm. But shortly after joining the firm, we really started to revisit how important it is to be an independent practice, and with the support of our broker dealers, we've been very successful in that regard, being a true fiduciary and a truly independent practice.
And that independence has, you've taken that and run with it as it pertains to your specific practice, and you've created more of a boutique approach to the types of clients you work with, and how you go about servicing them. Let's focus on how you focus on client needs for a little bit. What would you say is your underlying philosophy when working with clients, and maybe your thought process in being more select about with whom you work?
Well, it's important for me to go back in time just briefly.
Certainly.
3 weeks after I joined the firm, August 2001, I think
Here
everybody
comes
knows.
here comes one of those mile markers, Brandon.
Yeah, it's a mile marker for sure. And it's a mile marker that sadly affected the lives of Americans as we know it. 9/11 took place 3 weeks after joining the firm.
Mm.
And it goes without saying just how much it impacted all of us. When I started my practice, I had no clients, um, no guarantees. And then 9/11 occurred. And I had to spend that period of time really reflecting on what was happening, not so much how it was affecting me financially or professionally, but how it was affecting everybody that I was speaking to, everybody that I was working closely with. And I how it shaped my practice is invaluable because it helped remind me that it's not about money. It's not about making money. It's not about, performance and rates of return. It's really about our families, our friends, and the glue that keeps us all together. Just as it affected me, it affected my clients and their families. A lot of people I knew lost loved ones in 9/11 or had some, impact consequence as a result. So, candidly, I would say it helped really shape, how my practice has evolved over the last several decades.
And it's informed your approach to caring for them, and even once again deciding who you work with. So what would you say are some of the common qualities of your clients? What do you look for in a potential client? Because I know it's not just someone who has money to invest or needs financial planning or guidance, and we'll talk about some of that you take more of a holistic approach. But what are some of the characteristics you look for before you'll and need to find in a prospect before you'll invite
Sure.
them to join your practice?
It's interesting. When I started my practice 24 years ago, I I focused on retirees. I focused on clients and families that had already achieved most of their major goals. They were already retired. So largely these were folks that were in their late 50s, early to mid 60s. It seemed to be a very comfortable space for me. I have much older siblings, and I gravitated towards families that were a little bit older. And so what I found was that they all shared something very much in common that my own family shared. And that was, the importance of family. They were all, Rhode Islanders, if you will. Most of them native Rhode Islanders, very hardworking families, um, very modest, very strong moral compasses. And I don't know if I attracted them or they attracted me. It's hard to look back that many years, but I would say that building a practice around families that resembled my own felt very natural, very comfortable, and helping them look at the next stage of their life also felt very natural. At the time, my parents were in their 70s. Um, I had watched them sacrifice to raise 7 children. I knew how hard their efforts were. And I also saw the fruits of their labor. And when I was with my clients, I could see all of their hard work bearing fruit. The next step for them was, how do we protect what we've created? How do we not only protect it for themselves, but also for their children? To coin the term, how do we create a living legacy?
Legacy, yeah,
Uh,
that's so your personality, your family background, as you mentioned, and I had the opportunity to meet and spend some time with both mom and dad. They have passed since, God rest their souls and their memories, and the rest of the family. Um, Mom and dad had quite a legacy of their own. Um, they were both in the military, served for many years. If you want to spend a little time on that, you're more than welcome to. But their approach to life and how they raised you and your siblings and the importance of family, to me, has kind of come full circle, and it's helped to inform your approach with the clients you work with to take care of them like family, high touch, a lot of communication and conversation and help, and about them, not always about their financial needs. And now it's evolved again into this focus on legacy. Would that be fair?
By default, if you will, not by intention. In other words, it's truly a natural extension of the relationships that I'm building with my clients. My clients' average age is 60 years old, and I think some of it is intentional, some of it is organic. I've had clients with me for 24 years that came to me in their mid 50s and are now enjoying all of the fruits of their hard work and planning, working together, and now they're fully into their retirement, enjoying their families, enjoying their children, their grandchildren. So the idea of legacy is sort of the byproduct of building these long-lasting relationships, that started 2 decades ago. And it's a pleasure because over the years, what I'm realizing is, hey, there are no two clients alike. Everybody's goals are unique, but they are familiar, and in many respects, they're very similar. And whether they're married or not, or have children or not, most clients I find are looking past the money. Certainly it's important to have money, and certainly important to not outlive your money. And we focus very hard on that. But there's so much more that we bring to bear through the conversations that we have on an ongoing basis with our clients. And that includes using all of the tools that are in my toolkit. And I'm really proud to have not just assembled an incredible team, and we'll talk about that, but to have access to resources and tools that allow my clients at any stage in their life to be able to tackle whatever's important to them, whether it's to protect the assets they've worked so hard to create, to do it for themselves, for their spouse, or their loved ones, and to have access to some fairly sophisticated tools to ensure that their dreams come true, whether they are there or not.
Well, why don't we go there for a couple of minutes, John? Let's talk about the team you've assembled and some of the additional services that your practice firm provides versus perhaps others out there. And in the last year or so, you've started to move into more of subscription modeling and planning and advice in that direction as well. So let's tell us about the team a little bit. What would you like to share there?
Well, much like in my own marriage, you're only as good as your better half.
Well, that makes both you and I pretty damn good.
We're very
as good as our better halves.
We're very lucky. And before Trish, I would have said I'm only as good as my business coach, which would be Bill Rambo.
Oh boy, well you took a big step up last June. I'll tell you that much.
That's right. But in all seriousness, when I think of team, I think of it both internally and externally. On the inside, I can't say enough about the team that we've assembled over the years since I've been there. These are folks that work really, really hard to create highly customized portfolios for our clients, highly personalized solutions for our clients. I can't possibly do it alone. There just aren't enough hours in the day. Being independent is both a luxury and a challenge. The challenge of being independent is You have to know what's best for your client by scouring, not, the market, and to know at any given moment what is a good fit for your client. And thankfully, I've got a wonderful team made up of CFAs, PhDs, and a wonderful staff that can, back me up, if you will, and make sure that I'm always using sharp tools to help my clients. Externally, the same goes true. I don't know everything, and my team and I certainly will do everything we can to assist our clients, but we're not accountants and we're not tax attorneys. We're not estate planning attorneys. And even though I've garnered a lot of information and experience over the years, I can't answer all the questions that my clients bring to us. So with that, I've got wonderful external resources, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, insurance experts, people that I can refer comfortably to these trusted resources and know that my clients are going to be in good hands. So, working together, it allows us to solve a variety of intricate puzzles that our clients bring to us.
And I'm just going to go back to the internal team for a second. Brandon, I'm fortunate enough to get invited to John's annual client event up the road a little bit, and his assistant Kelly Terry is there, along with some of the other team members, Alan Marson, and you can tell how much the clients appreciate, and particularly Kelly. They might be happier to see her than you. Anyway, but
Yeah.
You can tell it's a client group that really does appreciate the level of touch and care that they receive. And I was going to touch on the external partners as well, because you are, and I don't think you're doing as much of it as you were 12 years ago when I met you, but you're a master networker. You've done a lot of it in the past. Brandon, he knows everybody in the state. Of course, Rhode Island is a small state. I think I heard the other day it's, like 37 miles in either direction to the border. So, but John really has done a great job of fostering those professional relationships, and as a result, bringing those other services to bear on behalf of his clients. John, is there any? I know perseverance is one key, but are there any keys to building those professional collaborations?
I think we've already identified that the needs of my clients are foremost, the most important thing to me. And so having a quiet army of talented, trusted professionals is the secret sauce. You cannot just Google, what's an estate plan and what do I need to do next. You must have some talent, and lucky to have that.
With all due respect, you could, but you'd probably end up getting garbage in, garbage out, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's only getting worse with, advent of artificial intelligence. It's so imperative that clients don't try to do things their own just to save a few dollars. Again, everybody's situation is incredibly unique, and having a team of accountants and lawyers, myself, and my own team allows us to customize everybody's solutions, to fit their need. Yeah.
And John, I'm skipping around a little bit here, so stay with me. It's your practice, your business, so you know it all.
You are skipping.
Yes, I am. That's the moderator's preference, personal privilege.
Yeah.
But the high touch. What are some of the touches that you actually provide? I guess you just really mentioned one. That's introducing clients to other professionals for other planning needs. But what would you say are one or two of the really powerful, meaningful touches that you and the team provide to clients?
We're probably one of the few offices I've ever encountered that really wants to see our clients as often as possible. We meet with our clients anywhere from 2 to 4 times a year in person, when they can. It used to be much more, before COVID. But we are constantly in communication with our clients. We want to see them often. We know that life happens. We know that things change on a regular basis and often. We want to know what's happening, not just in their lives, but their families' lives, because ultimately it does affect them. And the more often that we see our clients, the better they feel about what we're doing to help them reach their goals, manage their investments, the more we can help them solve any of other life's challenges that are coming up. We ask our clients, when you're facing a large financial decision, give us a call, bounce the idea off of us. You might already know exactly what's right for you, but a second opinion goes a long way. So we see our clients often. We celebrate their mile markers. We celebrate their anniversaries, their children's marriages, major events that are happening in their life, of course, retirement. We celebrate them officially every year with our client reception. We even have a cute org chart called our family tree. So as their family grows over the decades, we're keeping close track on what's happening in their children's lives and their grandchildren. We now have relationships with 3 to 4 generations within one client family, and it's pretty exciting when you can now work with the grandchildren of the client that you originally onboarded 24 years ago.
I'm going to pull a couple of things out. Number one, that has truly been a focus, Brandon, of John's practice, really positioning himself in the minds of his clients as a true advisor and not just the financial advisor. And he has spent a lot of time helping them to understand that anytime they're faced with any type of decision, doesn't even have to be financial. He wants to be there. He wants to be part of the solution and there to help them. And so it does foster a great deal of back and forth. Of course, the key from an advisor's position as it relates to legacy is helping clients to identify theirs, put in place the plans, align everything, and get everybody else, those next generation and generation aligned. From a business standpoint, it's also good business, obviously, to have those other generations, relationships with them, and to the extent it makes sense, onboarding them as clients. And finally, Brandon, one important point, you can tell that John Gautreaux, like me, is just as afraid of Molly Rambo as I am, because he's using the word mile marker and not milestones, mileposts, or anything like that. He has been trained as well as I have to use that word. Anyway, yeah. John, it really is great to hear, about those additional generations. Is there, once again, you have a strong sense of legacy in your family personally, but what are some of the emotional aspects of seeing that with clients and helping that to foster continue? How does that, that's part of your compensation, isn't it? In addition to getting paid things. So do you have any thoughts on that or any examples you'd like to share?
Every summer we host a very special event. It's a client appreciation event at a local restaurant. And that's where the emotional compensation really shows up, because it's a rare opportunity to thank my clients all together and in person for all of their many years of trust and confidence that they've placed in me and our team. And it resonates in a very special way because, I feel like I work in the service of my clients. I'm happy to be compensated for my work, but to be in the service of my clients, to see their satisfaction when they reach their key milestones,
Uh,
and to be able to celebrate those milestones. Retirement is not a finish line, it's a starting gate. And it's so exciting to celebrate those new starting gates with so many clients each and every year. It gives me a lot of satisfaction, and our annual client appreciation events really helps remind me and keep me grounded. Because when I look at them, I look at all of the events and milestones that we've both experienced. I've lost my parents over the last 3 years. My clients have lost loved ones. We've all experienced personal joys, but also hardships, and it helps keep us connected in a special way. And it just goes far beyond the dollar signs and far beyond, the minutia of what I do, which is certainly trying to help my clients enhance the value of their estate. But that emotional bridge is invaluable.
and one of the things that I've always thought when I think of what you do, how you approach working with your clients, is there's a unbelievable sense of genuineness in your conversations and your approach with them. And I've talked to some of your clients. I've been at those events over the years. I'm once again looking forward to this year's, and they're genuinely thankful, but you can tell that the relationship goes much deeper because you're open and genuine with them about your story and how it impacts how you serve them. All right, I'm going to switch gears again. You do a couple things. We've already talked about one or two, but you're focused on building professional collaborations. Everybody talks about building affinity partnerships. You've done it. Also, you actively work to market your business, your services through social media. Anything you want to share there? And Brandon will show some examples of that. Obviously, he'll cut away here and there in the final product of this conversation. But what would you like to share about what you're doing on social media?
Sure. No, I appreciate that. Candidly, I've never really actively marketed myself. I've built a very small practice through the good word of my clients and my professional contacts. So it's been a success based on organic growth. But more recently, we all realize that social media has a place. And as a professional, I believe LinkedIn is my place to get the word out. So with your help and Brandon's, we're using LinkedIn as a tool to continue to create awareness that, hey, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to stay. And I'm committed, not just to my clients, but I'm also hoping to continue growing. And I still have a lot to learn about, social media and, the most appropriate ways to reach out to my constituents.
But you have had a good deal of success building a wider net over the last half a year or so because you've been more focused on the content you put out, the regularity of it. That those types of factors have built that. It hasn't been too recent. I don't remember if it was last year, but recently we used that term in communication. Recently, I celebrated my 10th birthday. It was, recently is up for discussion, but you have a very nice website at independencefp.net. And once again, Brandon will give people that address at the end, and maybe we'll cut away a little bit to it. Tell us about the website and what you think are some of the things people will find there that will really be of value, because it is part of your social or virtual marketing, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've had a website for a long time. The one that we currently publish is on the newer side. I'm actually proud of it. Spent a lot of time designing it, but ultimately, what we do for our clients every day is not necessarily as evident on any website as it will be in my office. But the website gives you I think, a nice description of the type of services that we offer in the areas that we think are most important to our clients and prospective clients. Not only does it, briefly describe some of the areas that we cover, but we also have a wonderful resource department where you can pull up, calculators, tax forms, recent articles that we publish. Hopefully, this podcast someday. So I kind of look at it as a great hub. All of the links that you'll need to log into your accounts are there. Your financial dashboard is there. So we want the website to be your starting point. And I'm just hoping more folks take a peek at it. IndependenceFP.net.
IndependenceFP.net. We'll say it again and again. And once again, Brandon will post it here and there. And once again, Brandon, let's cut away to it because we can get a look at the team there, obviously, and some of the other things. One of the things, and we haven't mentioned it, is that your practice is also a little different in that you do have a focus on retirement plans, not just for individuals, but for businesses and people when they go to Independence or when they go to independencefp.net would find some information on that. Just take a minute or two and tell us about that part of your business.
Quite simply, because of my background in commercial banking, I always had great relationships with business owners, and I always had an affinity in that area as well. I understand what's on the backs of business owners. I understand what their challenges are, and one of their key challenges is to attract and retain great employees. So one of the other divisions that our firm has created is an employee benefits arm, where we focus on either building or improving the quality of employee benefits with any size organization. The focus on those benefits tends to be more on the retirement planning side because that, certainly is our expertise and affinity. So we work very closely with the business owner to create the very best employee benefit and retirement plan. And then by extension, we work closely with the individual employees to make sure they know what they have and the importance of saving for retirement. So that's, by extension, part of our practice.
And that ability to coordinate the company plans with their personal plans is an additional benefit that you provide in your practice, perhaps more so than a lot of other advisors.
That's right.
All right. So, John, we did skip around some. Apologies for that, but you seem to have handled it pretty well. He hasn't fallen on the floor and convulsed yet, Brandon. So I think we're doing maybe. No, I think we're doing all right. So, John, what else would you like to talk about? What did I forget to mention? And then when we've covered that, we're going to talk about what the future might hold for you. Anything we missed?
I would say two things. Number one, if you're one of my existing clients, I can't thank you enough for trusting and having confidence in me and my team. If you haven't been with me for 24 years yet, I'm hoping you will stick around long enough for us to celebrate some of your key milestones. So thank you again if you're someone that already works with us. If you haven't had the opportunity to work with us, I just ask you for that opportunity to learn more about the kind of work that we do and what makes us different. You may not know what makes us different until you give us a try. But perhaps a handshake or that first meeting or first phone call might help you differentiate or distinguish why we're different versus everyone else. Most everyone thinks that they're all set or that they have someone that they're working with, or maybe that they don't need a financial advisor. And that may be true, but the odds are there's one element to your life, one piece of your puzzle that you've overlooked or you haven't given enough thought to. And that might be an opportunity for us just to have a conversation. So, Bill, we're here primarily at the service of our existing clients. That's where I spend 99% of my time. But I'm more than happy to, make the acquaintance and have a conversation with folks that, are interested in learning more about Independence Financial Partners.
And so once again, they can find you on LinkedIn, and they can find more about what you do at independencefp.net. But, what I've always thought about what the really good advisors in this business, and I certainly number you amongst the best of them, they do is, you spend an hour with John talking about what's going on in your life, and not just your financial life. He's going to help you to think about things that perhaps you haven't, think about things maybe you have in slightly different ways. And I would suggest strongly that, some time spent with John in conversation is well worth it. And you can tell from how he's reacted a couple of times here that he is a genuine person. He's going to tell you what he thinks. He's going to share how he feels about things. And Brandon, I'm going to share this. I didn't put it in any of the notes or anything, so because I didn't want John to tell me not to do it. But when I was putting together the ceremony for John's wedding last year, he said, you got to say something personally about us. And I'm thinking to myself, if I do that, somebody's going to be crying. And sure enough, so I did it. And sure enough, right near the end, I had to take a minute because I got pretty choked up, because John is a very dear friend. Forget the client stuff. I mean, he was my first friend, and when I moved to Rhode Island, and he's been my best friend since, and I'm truly appreciative for that.
Thank you, Bill.
So, John, is there anything you want to talk about forward looking before we close up the next 24 years?
Absolutely. I would. It's hard to think that far ahead. I'm not as young as I look. But
I always think, as the man said, I may not get there with you, but you will get to the promised land. Anyway,
that's right. No, I'm very excited about the next decade. I have a lot to look forward to. Our team is growing. My focus is always on what's best for my clients, and to answer a question that comes up once in a while. Hey, John, what if something happens to you, or aren't you going to retire someday? Yeah, sure. Let's hope the latter and not the former. But we are working very hard on team building and having an appropriate succession strategy, which again is not going to happen anytime soon. But it is important, as with any practice, much like your own physician, to know that you are in good hands. And if it's not with me, it's going to be with somebody just like me. So hopefully, as the practice grows and evolves, that will also include introducing my clients to more members of my team.
And since you are still a relatively young man, relative to some of the people in this conversation,
yeah.
You have also started to build the capabilities and reach out to advisors who may not have that team in place, that succession plan. And I think that's a key to get out there, not to clients so much as other financial professionals, that, if you're thinking about your next phase of life and don't have somebody in place to back you up, find John on LinkedIn or at independencefp.net, because he's building the infrastructure, has built the infrastructure, but is building more to be able to accommodate people who are looking for that next generation to help serve some of their clients. So, John, you've built a very meaningful and impactful legacy over the last 24 years. It will be great to watch how it grows and expands and improves, and how it impacts even more people. I want to personally thank you, my friend, for taking the time to join us today on our podcast. Any last thoughts before I thank Brandon and we get the heck out of here?
No, great job, Brandon. Bill, appreciate it. It's my first podcast. Never good in front of the camera, not nearly as talented as my older brother David, who was a professional actor by profession. So no, this was a pleasure. Hopefully we'll do some more of this in the future, and lots to look forward to. Yeah, thank you.
So my thanks to my good friend John Gautreaux, CHFC. Please check him out on LinkedIn and at independencefp.net. As always, thank you to the man behind the curtain, Oz, Brandon Kirst, for producing, directing, and tightening this thing up. Don't worry, John. He'll take some of this stuff out that I've said, But anyway, I would encourage the viewers also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What's Next for Financial Advisors. Leave feedback. Let us know what you'd like to hear about. And I hope that everybody watching today or going forward has a great day, has a great rest of the year, and continues to create their own great legacy, as has my good friend John Gautreaux, CHFC. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Bill. All right, don't hang up, right?
No, don't hang up.